UNEP China office was set up in 2003. This is a big step in UNEP history. If we say China office is the first country office UNEP set up in the world, so we are proud of that. UNEP facilitated China to engage in international affairs, especially the global environmental issues and the regional environmental issues. The domestic issues, if the domestic issues were solved smoothly, that's a big contribution to the regional and the global. This is what all the international society recognize. However, China is not only doing that. China is have a more active or proactive attitude to the regional and global environmental issues. China has made a lot of progress in the control the faster growing of greenhouse emissions. China now is the biggest producer of solar energy, wind power energy, and other renewable energies. We will continue to share international good practice to China, and also now it's ready to share China's good practice to the international society, to the international community.
The United Nations Industrial Development Organization, or UNIDO, is a multilateral technical assistance agency under the UN to promote industrialization of developing countries. It came to China in 1979, one of the first agencies in the UN family. Among the many projects it has undertaken were the 50 also since the 1990s to help the country eliminate the production of ozone-depleting substances, especially freon, in manufacturing refrigerators and other home appliances. What has been the role of UNIDO in the broader landscape of China's industrial development? Where is the collaboration going next? Welcome to this special series of China and the UN 40 years. I'm Lu Xin at the Ruihe Industrial Park in Shandong Province, eastern China, where UNIDO carried out its flagship projects in the mid-1990s.
Ozone-depleting substances, or ODS, have posed serious damage to the Earth's fragile ozone layer. To mitigate its hazardous influence, in 1989, a universal agreement known as the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer entered into force. In 1991, China officially ratified this protocol. Since then, UNIDO has helped China implement over 50 projects to eliminate ODS in the refrigeration, foam, pharmaceutical and agricultural production sectors.
They have brought us new ideas and more advanced technologies. They also helped us to prepare program files to apply for the support of the Multilateral Fund for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol and arranged overseas tours for us.
In total, UNIDO's projects to clean up China's refrigerating and air conditioning sector phased out over 10,000 tons of ozone-depleting substances, reduced pollutants equivalent to 33 million tons of CO2, and helped the companies increase energy efficiency by up to 12%.
They helped to reduce the climate impact of Chinese industry massively, and that happened through actually leapfrogging technologies far beyond where at that time Western countries were with their technology choices.
The cooperation helped Chinese manufacturers such as Ruihe to convert their production lines using ozone and climate-friendly technologies, and therefore strengthens their technological basis for future green development. For more about this project, Lu Xin talks to David Ma, Deputy Representative of the United Nations Industrial Development Organization in China.
Mr. Ma, thank you so much for accepting our interview.
It's a great pleasure to be for the interview.
Thank you. Now, how long have you been with UNIDO? And I understand that the mission of UNIDO is to promote industrialization, to provide technical assistance to developing countries in their industrialization, and to coordinate industrial promotion under the UN framework. What exactly does it mean for China?
Yes, I'm working for UNIDO. It's more than 20 years.
We do have a lot of projects in China to promote the concept of we call industrial for development. Because as you know that in UN system we have different UN agencies, and for UNIDO we are doing something related to industrial manufacturing in these fields.
Since the 1990s, especially since 1995, UNIDO engaged in several projects to help China phase out the use of freon in the production of refrigerators. And Ruihe, which is where we are here now in its exhibition room, is one of the first partners of UNIDO in China to help implement such a project. Why did UNIDO choose such a project to start with and as a priority for your engagement with China since an early date?
You know that freon is one of the substances which depleting the ozone. So in 1995, a lot of international organizations, together with many countries, signed Vienna Conventions. After that, the government of China also signed the conventions with the help of the Ministry of Ecology and Environmental Protection. So several enterprises was selected for this project. Ruihe was one of them.
Why was Ruihe selected?
We trust Ruihe very much, and Ruihe is one of the biggest enterprises in home appliance. He has strong capabilities in terms of management, in terms of technology. So that's why Ruihe was selected.
Well, Ruihe was only one of the factories, one of the brands producing refrigerators back then in China. There were many other factories also using freon at the moment. So what was the idea? Was it to start with Ruihe and then, you know, the other companies can follow suit, or did you want to go from company to company? What was the idea?
At that time in China, the people haven't a strong awareness to the environmental protection. So we needed to persuade or to convince the enterprises to do something which related to the environmental protection. I still remember clearly is that in 1995, Ruihe is just started to install assembly line, a production line, which using the freon. So you could imagine we just started a line, then next day you have to demolish all this line. So it's really needed for the Ruihe to have encouraged to do that.
In the 1990s, when China's home appliance industry was still taking shape, the concept of green development, although recognized, was not actionable. Chinese companies such as Ruihe still lacked the relevant technology to carry out international commitments.
Ruihe is one of the first enterprises in China to adopt freon-free refrigeration technology. Since 1995, Ruihe has been working with UNIDO to phase out freon. From the perspective of corporate social responsibility, we have the obligation to fulfill international commitments and protect the ozone layer. This is an important task for Ruihe as well.
2 decades later, China's home appliance industry has come a long way. Now Ruihe has become one of the world's leading manufacturers of home appliances. Reports in 2019 say it ranked #1 in international sales for 10 consecutive years.
As China's home appliance industry develops, especially in refrigerator production sector, we need to export a large amount of products. If we had not carried out projects to eliminate ODS and enhance our capacity for environmentally friendly development, our exports to other countries would have been hindered.
Today, as the biggest manufacturer of home appliances in the world, China's production of refrigerators accounts for more than 50% of the world's total. China announced in March this year that it had phased out a total of 280,000 tons of ozone-depleting substances, or ODS, listed in the Montreal Protocol, accounting for over half of the total reduction by developing countries.
Our choices of a more modern and greener technology industry will inevitably influence the trend of the world in terms of home appliances production. It is fair to say that Chinese companies have made significant contributions to phasing out Freon and contributed to the protection of the world.
What did it mean? What do you think it meant for China to be able to accomplish that as the second most populous country, as the second largest economy, and also jumping from a low-end manufacturing to one of the most important manufacturers in the world of home appliances?
At that time, we called technical assistance. And now we're talking about a technical cooperation. After 40 years opening up, China really could do something, contribute to other developing countries. We have do a lot of projects with China so that we can use this for other developing countries.
Why don't you bring best practices from developed countries to other developing countries? Instead, you bring it from China to these developing countries.
China is already accumulate a lot of experience in these sectors. For some of the technologies, the European technologies is more expensive, and the Chinese technology is more affordable and more applied to developing countries.
Yeah. So is there a possibility, because China is the world's biggest manufacturer already, and China wants to go further up to become a quality manufacturer, to be an innovative power. Do you foresee one day that maybe China become the giver of technical assistance, and not just to developing countries, but to developed countries as well? Is that already happening?
I strongly believe that this is already happening. Many things in this. Within UN system, we have South-South cooperation. We also have South-North cooperation. Maybe someday, some of the technology from China could to bring into the developing countries, such as the Feng tech. You know that in...
You mean to developed countries?
Yeah, developing.
From China to developed countries, such as fintech.
Yeah, fintech.
Yeah. Well, China is quite developed in fintech, such as Alipay or WeChat Pay.
Yeah. As far as I know, that this technology is well developed in China, but when you go to United States, when you go to Europe, you will see less people using these technologies.
So China has something to offer.
Yeah.
Okay. So for UNIDO, there will always be a role to play.
Yes.
With China, for China, or by China. Yeah. How do you foresee the future?
In the past 40 years, UNIDO bring the best practice from developing countries to developing countries, including China, and we also bring the best practice from developing countries to other developing countries. In the future, we could bring the best practice from developing countries to developing countries.
As well.
As well.
And UNIDO wants to continue to be that bridge?
Yes, definitely.
And that's all for this edition of The Point. As always, follow us on Facebook and Twitter using the handle ThePoint with LX. Thank you for watching. You've got The Point.